a lot of things that kind of annoy me, modern phrases that irritate me slightly, or a lot, depending on how you want to look at it. But one of the things that it's kind of come in recently that's got me a little bit agitated, irritated, however you want to look at it, is the term, well, the phrase, get with the times. All right, that's what everybody likes to say now. Just get with the times. Why? Not what does that sentence mean? We kind of understand, it means to join the modern world. It means to take on whatever it is that the rest of the world is going to. One of the terms some people like to use is progressive, right? To be more progressive. I hate it. I think it's dumb. So that's what I thought would be a nice topic to discuss. What is wrong with this idea? Now, one of the first things I want to get into is the time itself, right? Time traveling superhero should be pretty good at talking about time. One of the things when it comes to the whole timeline thing, right? A lot of people are like, well, I don't want the fashion of my parents or grandparents. Well, what's wrong with it? What is wrong with whatever happened 20, 30, 50 years ago? What's wrong with it? A lot of people are out there trying to change things for the sake of change, which is just a stupid concept, right? You shouldn't just change things just because you feel like changing it. The house has been, green for 15 years. Let's change it and make it blue now. Why? What's wrong with the green? I'm just bored of it. I'm just tired of it. Let's just change it. That's not a very good idea. Now, some of you fashion snobs out there may be all up in arms. How dare you say that? But really, think about it. That's what gets us to this point. And I have this big old thing I got to talk about later. I was doing this huge blog post on it, and then found out that was going to take way too much time. So, well, not so much too much time. There's a lot of just strings to tackle there. But anyhow, with this whole getting with the times piece, upgrading, updating, a lot of people have this silly conception that you can either get with the 21st century or stay in the 19th century or 20th century or whatever you want to call it. No, you don't have to do something like that. You actually can, strangely enough, take the best of both worlds. All right, so for instance, one of the things that I like to do is I like to watch old TV shows. Right, we're talking old cartoons. We're talking old what they refer to as serials. Basically shows that built upon the previous episode, what have you. Just a lot. I just like watching old TV shows. And one of the ones I kind of thought about was the TV show Walker, Texas Ranger, right? Now, we're not going to talk about the fact that they decided to remake it. If you hadn't heard, they're doing like a remake of it. I'm not going there, all right? That I don't want to get angry. But the original Walker, Texas Ranger, obviously with Chuck Norris being Walker, Cordell Walker was the name of the character in the show. There was this, at the very beginning, the early seasons, I don't know so much in the later, but in the early seasons, they had kind of this pseudo-conflict going on between Cordell Walker and his buddy Trevette, right? Cordell was very old school. He was the old beat 'em up, shoot 'em, classic cowboy style of justice. And Trevette was always trying to get the next latest and greatest thing in technology. He had a laptop, he had a cell phone, he had a little wristwatch thingy. Now, today we call it a smartwatch, but then it wasn't anywhere close to that level. It had like a few basic functions that were sitting there. You think that's high tech? Yeah, but anyhow, he was always into the new gear, and Walker was like, screw that noise. Never going there. Never going to do it. Not going to happen. Nope. And that's one of those things that kind of made it interesting to me, is that then the show originally came out in 1993. But I mean, there's always going to be the old versus the new, where we don't want to go to the next level for whatever reason. Some of those reasons are good, some of those reasons are dumb. And that's one of those things that I kind of want to bring into play, is that you can upgrade, you can update, you can get to the newest, latest, and greatest thing without completely discarding all the old stuff. A lot of people think you can't have both. Sure you can. All right, so for instance, as you can see, I use a computer. I love computers. I think they're awesome. Do you don't see? You're never going to see is any home that I purchase with a bunch of gadgets and gizmos that are all controlled by my cell phone. I ain't gonna do it. No reason to. Now, granted, I live in a spaceship, but I can talk to the AI that I built. Me, not some company out in freaking California where they can listen in on everything. Alright, not gonna do that. I'm not gonna put myself to that level for a few extra gadgets and gadgets. I think it's, even if they didn't do that, even if they were like the absolute most secure, most private, we're not using this for any other reason than to make your life better, blah, 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 which I know is what they keep saying, but we all know they're lying. But anyhow, even if that was the case, I still wouldn't do it. For the very simple fact that I like to get up to turn on a light. It's not a difficult concept. It is not a hard task to perform. It's to simply stand up, go turn on the light. It's easy. The whole car thing. I can't stand the push button cars. It drives me nuts. A lot of people are like, but it's so cool. You know, all you have to do is you go in there, you just push the button and the engine starts. Turning a key is not that difficult a task. Right? You just go in there and go, boom. Oh, look, it started. It's not like the old crank things where you go, oh gosh, my arm's tired and the thing still didn't start. Oh, let me try that again. Oh gosh, why is this thing not starting? You didn't pull the clutch out. Yeah, 15 different steps to get it going. It's one turn and it starts. Magic. Right? One of the other reasons that I find that I hate the push button thing is because usually with the push button cars is the really, really quiet engines. So you kind of forget you didn't shut the car off when you leave the car because it's so quiet. And it's so easy to forget it because you didn't take the keys with you, right? They've been in your pocket the whole time. And that's one of those things where you have that problem. I've seen it happen before. It's funny as heck because, somebody will come in, chatting, whatever, and then somebody else will come in from outside. Hey, dude, your car's running. My keys are they've been in my pocket. Let me go shut it off, right? It's those things in life that we didn't really think about when we first built it. You're like the new Tesla cars, right? Those things are one of the ones I really like getting into. Because here we have, ooh, look, it's an auto-drive car. Oh, it's so great. It drives itself, get around traffic. It's so wonderful. Why wouldn't you want an autopiloted car? I don't know. Have you ever been in the rain with it? How about snow, sand, dirt, rocks? Okay, I have been in plenty of locations that did not have the nice roads that are on commercials. The other thing, too, with the stupid Teslas is the stupid charging ports, right? Pete, boot to the head, right? He's out there trying to get the stupid infrastructure bill to build more of those charging stations. I'm not even going to go into the whole timeline to get those things charged and built and whatever else, but seriously, I don't have a location to charge this thing. You want me to plug it into the wall? That sounds like a headache. I ain't dealing with all that mess. But does that mean that an auto-driving car wouldn't have some benefits? Sure. You get tired, it's been a long day, you're exhausted, and you just don't want to drive. I can see that being kind of helpful. But the technology just ain't there yet. I mean, shoot, we've got so many different things out there that are constantly misclassifying. Right? As you might see, I'm seated in a particular position. And even in this particular position, you can see my hands just kind of disappear. And that ain't any magical technological gizmos. That's just the technology I have available to me isn't able to perfectly differentiate between what's my hand and what's the background. Now, I like to cut the background out so you can't see the spaceship. But anyhow, when it comes to technology, modern technology, there are flaws. There's no reason to get rid of tried and true to put in new gizmos that are still working out the kinks. Right? It's one of those things currently that isn't technology based that still follows the same thing, right? Tried and true versus the new. And that's strangely enough with clothing. Now some of you might be kind of scratching your heads with clothing. What the heck's tried and true? Okay, so when it comes to our clothing that we wear, right? We've got some very distinct uh, items that everybody's familiar with, right? You have the whole t-shirt and jeans. You've got the button-up shirts and slacks. Of course, you have the suits, and this is all for the guys, right? You got the girls they can, maybe wear t-shirts as well. They can do jeans too, but some of them wear skirts, and you have the full-length dresses, and then kind of like the knee-high dresses, and various things like that. They're tried and true, all right? They weren't around for like 10 minutes and everybody got bored when they moved on. They stick around. Now, a lot of people are like, get away from all that. Let's not have no dresses anymore. Let's not have guys wearing jeans. Let's have them wearing shorts because, that's what girls wear. So let's have guys wearing them too. They're so much more comfortable. They feel really cool and whatever silly nonsense. When it comes to constantly changing these things, we don't have a grounding point. We don't have any means of keeping ourselves from going completely crazy with whatever designs we're coming up with. All right, so for instance, hair. I'm big on hair. A lot of people find it weird. I mean, obviously, I have a helmet, so I don't really have much in the way of hair. At least not that people can see. But one of the things I'm kind of big on it with the hair is the constant changes. Constantly having to see people change their hair all the time. You've got some people that want to stick with the natural colors, but it's not their natural color, right? So, some people, when you're like, I just should have been a blonde, or I should have been just, black haired, or whatever. You have these individuals out there that change once or twice. Maybe they go redo the hair so it stays the same color because they feel whatever. And that's a whole fashion subject. We're not getting into that. But that still kind of falls a little bit into the tried and true, right? This is a normal color. People are not going to go, the heck is that mess? All right? It's fine. Everybody's good with it. Then started coming the goofy colors, right? You start having, the weird purple in the hair. Purple hair? The heck is that? That's not natural. That looks dumb. You had the blue hair. The other day I saw a gal freaking had a rainbow coming out of her head. Yellows and reds and whatever the grief else was in there. Why? I mean, I realize that hair is supposed to turn one's head. Ooh, wow, look at that. That's what it's supposed to do. Now when it turns people's heads, like, whoa, now, keep that freak away from me, right? This constant change to get to, we know something's better out there, so we need to change to get there. How do we know? How do we know that whatever's next is actually better than what we already have? Just because it's new doesn't mean it's better. And that's one of the big pieces. Right? One of the big pieces in all this is that new does not equate to better. Hands down. Let me say it again. New does not equate to better. We've had a lot of problems with this in the modern world. All right, we go back to computers here for a minute. We have the new update, whatever it is, right? Whether it be for your operating system, for your computer, a video game, word processor, whatever. It's the new update. Ooh, shiny. Then you get in there and you find all the flaws. Ew, I can't find X, Y, and Z that I used to be able to find in like 5 seconds before. Now it's moved over here. Why is it moved over there? Well, some geek over at the technology company said, well, it's better here. It's more conducive. It's whatever. And the people who've been using it in this spot for the past 15 years can't find it because they're not thinking, that might actually belong over here. Because it doesn't. It belongs where it was originally. Now, a lot of you guys might think I sound like an old granny. Okay. Old granny's got a point. They've been around a lot longer than you and I have. They got experience. Now, I'm not going to say that everything old needs to stick around. There's a lot of old things that just need to be gotten rid of, thrown away. Again, one of them is the crank start engine. Okay, it's cool that you have the ability to start your engine, in the freaking middle of a tornado and EMPs and whatever else going off, and you still start your car. That's cool. Highly unlikely I'm going to need that. Okay, we can get rid of the crank start engines. And we did. We didn't need them anymore, right? They're kind of useless. Some of the other things that we got rid of, things that we didn't need. Okay, wooden ships. I don't need that no more. This new fangled metal ship that stands up against the elements way better. I can make it way bigger without capsizing on itself. And it can take way more damage in battle. Yeah, I totally want that. I want the metal ships, not the wooden ships. So there are certain things we can throw out. Now, some people go, well, what about the modern era? What are some good things from the modern world that we can keep? Well, obviously computers and the internet. I know some people are like, oh, the internet's evil. Oh, it's terrible. Nah, it's a great idea that bad people ruined. I mean, let's face it. You got a handful of dipsticks who decided to use the internet for completely horrible things. Whatever it is. And it's always going to be that way. Every technology you're ever going to make is going to have something horrible done with it. They freaking did terrible things with clothes. Let's just face facts here. Right? Here's a technology that is supposed to keep you warm. Or we could also do it to entice you to sin. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. No, terrible idea, right? A pair of scissors, right? Oh, nothing dangerous with a pair of scissors, Do it to cut your hair, do it to cut a piece of paper, do it to cut through some wires I probably shouldn't be cutting through. Right? There's all kinds of technology can always be used for wrong, but the internet is a very helpful place, right? A huge repository for information, the original purpose of the internet, huge repository for information. Now, some people are out there like, oh, it stores so much bad information or misleading information or, I don't know, some BS like that. Okay, it's got a lot of information out there, and how do we know that it's vetted properly? How do we know that it's sourced properly? Well, how do you know that coming out of a book? All right? I'm not bashing on the books. Don't get me wrong. I love books too. And here's the reason why. Because once somebody puts something to paper, it doesn't get changed. You can't have some hacker go in there and change all the pages. Oh, wait a minute. Are you saying I can have the internet and books? Sure. I love the internet. I love books too. Because I don't have to worry about charging my book. I don't have to, I'm talking like paperback books. I'm talking about hardcover books, something that you can smell the pages. All right, with books, you don't have to charge it. You don't have to get the settings on it right. You don't have to worry about, when you turn the book, the whole thing flips over with, the pages go where you think they're going to go instead of trying to do some weird inverted mumbo jumbo. You don't have to worry about a book crashing. You don't have to worry about updates for your book. It's there. It's permanent. It's going to stay there. It's great. But with the internet and technology, what if you're talking about something that's new? Right? For instance, the news. Okay? What's in my book is great for history. Because history doesn't change. I realize CNN doesn't believe this to be the case. I don't care. History does not change. What happened, happened. That's it. It happened. It can go into a book. But for something that's happening right now, right this minute, yeah, updates are kind of helpful. Now, some people will say, and I'm not going to disagree with this entirely, but that, people, because they have this information instantaneously, they start off instantaneous. They don't gather all the facts first. They just tell the story with whatever they've got already and then have to retract it later. I agree, right? A balance can be achieved. I'm big on balance, right? Don't post everything the second it comes out. Wait a second. Say, hey, that's what I like about some articles. This is what we know now. Stay tuned for further updates. We don't know what's going on. When people used to do that, it was great. Now, of course, you have to be the first one on scene, the whoever's got the latest and breaking news. You have to be first. Just wait. It'll be fine. You'll get to collect the information. Just let them know, hey, I know everybody's looking into this. We're working on it. Just give me a minute. All right, this is big for storms. You get a lot of, and this is one of the problems with storms too, with technology, is this is what it is right now. So that's what we have to project for the next however long, however many hours, minutes, days. It is one of those problems where people forget to just look back at how things normally work and use that to carry forward. Hurricanes being a big one, right? I've seen a lot of hurricane activity where they insisted, based on this one, that it was totally going to do this thing. I'm like, well, every time that happens in history, it actually does this other thing. And they ignore me, as often do, right? Ignore the superheroes. We know what we're talking about, so ignore us. And then it does pretty much what I said it was going to do. Strange how that works. But anyhow, so there's that. But there has to be a balance between the two, right? So like I said, some new things, the internet, speed of information, obviously. Car safety technology. There's some car safety technology that is great. That is awesome to have. You have, like, for instance, the kind of like the backup stuff, like the backup cameras. It's great, right? You have a better picture of what's up here. Isn't really important all the time. Okay, I can see that through 3 different mirrors, but sometimes it's what's below, right? I know a lot of people say, oh, backup camera is great for when you're trying not to run over dogs and little kids. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I find that to be very handy. Of course, seatbelt technology. I know some people hate seatbelts, but one of the things I've liked with modern seatbelts is they've kind of gotten this proper working relationship with the locking feature on seatbelts. So originally, if you had a seatbelt, you buckled it in, and then when you crashed, it sort of kept you from flying through the window. Just however it worked. Mostly by the lap part, not really the shoulder part. And then they went, well, maybe we should have it lock. So basically, you buckle in, and then if it jerks too far forward too fast, it just slams it into place so that you can't actually go forward. But then you'd be trying to, unbuckle quickly, and the seatbelt will get kind of locked up there. So they, finally found the balance. Where's a good place to put this? That stuff is good. Of course, you got engine technology, burning fuel at a better consumption rate, so you get more mileage. I'm not going to go into all the electronic gizmos, but that's some good technology. Some bad technology is the fact they're all made out of plastic. Ooh, you get better mileage because it's a lighter car. Yeah, and when you wind up in a wreck, that seatbelt ain't going to do you any good because you're flying through the vehicle. You have left the vehicle, not because you went out the windshield, but because there's no vehicle left. It's just gone, disintegrated. I actually saw one person. It was a race. Kind of one of those Andretti races. And somebody was like, yeah, this is a great thing. It's designed. They told me the car was designed to fall apart. That way you didn't have to worry about the metal cutting into the individual. I said, cool. And they were showing me a video. See, it's disintegrating. It's falling apart, and the guy is perfectly safe. And I said, that's great. Except for when he gets run over by the 6 guys right behind him, who's going to have to try dodging him and all the debris from his car, because it's all over the dang racetrack now. Okay, a lot of times when you have these crash test dummies, it's like, oh, they go flying into a brick wall at like 60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour. Ooh, look how it survived the impact. Right. That's good that you've tested that. What about the guy behind you? What about the guy that didn't see what you were going to run into, and now they're running into you? What about trying to get around that kind of thing? And this kind of goes into, like, some people's, ooh, I love the safety of the lane assist, or the like the little blinky lights when somebody's in your blind spot. Some people find that technology to be very good. I think it has some value to it, but it's also kind of distracting. I really hate the lane assist, because sometimes the lane assist, you start to drift over because you're getting ready to pass, but you're constantly checking over your shoulder, checking the mirrors to make sure that knucklehead that was riding your tailpipe 6 seconds ago isn't still there riding your tailpipe. Is he in my blind spot? I'm checking for that, and the lane assist is like, oh, he's drifting out. Pull you back. Dummy, I'm trying to go that way. Yeah. So you have that. Of course, like I said, I hate the blinky lights from the or even worse, when it starts making a little sound when you're getting too close, like beep, 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 beep. Like, dude, I am parking. I'm supposed to be that close to a vehicle. I think I don't think the technology is ready yet. I think it needs some tweaks. Like I said, some balancing. I think it could be very useful in the future. Um, for instance, only activate the noising, the noise, and the little blind spot detectors when you're over a certain mile per hour. So if I'm parking at 5 miles an hour, yeah, I'm gonna see that in my mirror. Thanks, clown. Stuff like that, right? You have to have balance. Now, what about some old stuff that I think, just I'm not saying like old wooden ship stuff, but like modern things we see in the modern world that I say, you know what, let's just get rid of that. All right, it's old, it's outdated, it's antique. Let's get rid of it. I would say the some of the phones. I'm not gonna say landline phones, right? But like corded landline phones, yeah, we can ditch that. I think we're good there. Um, we have the whole wireless phones working great. We got that figured out. Yeah, I know some people are like, well, but the wired phones don't run out of batteries. Sure, that's correct, but them wired phones take forever for that battery to finally. I mean, they'll die eventually. Sure, being off the cradle, I guess we'll call it that, since that's what the original phones would refer to as being on a cradle. So if they're off the cradle long enough or the charging station long enough, yeah, I think um, even when they're getting old in life, they can still be off there for a few hours before they start to die. Um, but the battery technology is there. It works. We don't need the wired phones anymore. Um, Wired headphones. All right. I will say that I'm kind of glad we're getting rid of wired headphones. They are useful, don't get me wrong. I still like them from time to time. There are some scenarios where they come in very, very handy to have the wired headphones. But I do believe that getting rid of them is a good idea. Now, I won't go with, on the same note, is cell phones getting rid of their 3.5 millimeter ports for that stuff, because there are some times where I might not want a wired headset, but I might want to use it as an auxiliary cord, right? Because Bluetooth uh, works, but not always, right? Especially if you have got a lot of competing signals. That it's had problems plenty of times before with the competing signals thing. So sometimes it's nice having that 3.5 millimeter jack on there, audio jack, to plug in plug your phone into an external audio source. So you can you don't have to worry about Bluetooth problems. But like I said, the wired headphones, yeah, we can pitch that. The Bluetooth works just fine on something that's low scale, because those things aren't really designed to go very far from you. And you don't have to worry about getting yourself tangled up in wires. Whereas normally, if you're using a scenario where you'd want an aux cord for a phone, you're probably just gonna set it right there and be done with it. You're not gonna carry it around with you. So we can kind of get rid of some of that. Like I said, some of the wired stuff we can get away from. We really can. I still won't go for getting rid of wired charging. I've seen a lot of the wired charging things. I think the idea is cool, but I have seen that technology kind of cause problems. There was a phone I had that wound up having its battery life sapped a lot faster, because basically the wireless charging was doing it via essentially induction heat, and that didn't do so great for the battery. Nowadays, maybe it's better. I don't know, but it just wasn't there. So there are various things out there that, like I said, some new things we can get, and some old things we can get rid of. All right, sorry about that. Got called away. I'm also should be quieter now. I didn't realize quite how loud this. I got a new microphone, so I'm kind of testing it out, trying to tweak it here, get it to the right volume specs. But anyhow, as I was saying before, we have our concept of getting rid of the old. Just got to get rid of it. No, let's mix it up a little bit. Keep some of the old, and bring in the new. And eventually, yes, all the old will go away because things fall apart. just the basic facts of life, right? But that doesn't mean we have to have this driving need to get rid of it. Just let it die out naturally. It's fine. There are some things that just eventually die out, but there's some things that don't, right? Trees are going to be around forever. Flowers are going to be around forever. Grass, nature is around forever. And that kind of leads me into this next piece is how we take on the world. Starting really, with cars and with computers and the internet and phones and all in clothing, right? All that stuff is all things. Trees and grass and mountains, that's all things too. But a lot of people take nature differently. We have this idea that we've shifted from, that we used to be stewards of the land, and now we must bow down to the wishes of the land, right? Which is kind of ironic, because that's what originally people were doing. Like pagan religions were bowing down to the trees, right? Oh, great tree, you are powerful. Have you ever seen the St. Patrick skit on Looney Tunes? I think it was one of the greatest things they ever did. But anyhow, when it comes to that, it's kind of come full circle, right? We used to worship the trees and the rocks and the plants and the mountains and whatever, and then we got no, we're stewards. We're supposed to take, don't get rid of it, but take care of it, use it. We are the stewards, right? We own it, but we're not just going to set everything on fire and call it a day. Get rid of it, essentially. We're not going to do that. Well, now we've gotten back to, we just can't touch it at all. Just don't touch it. It is higher in value than our own miserable lives. Yeah, that's BS. So again, there are some old things like paganism, and you go out the door and they shouldn't be coming back. But that's one of those things we have to understand and consider, right? One of the modern ideas that comes with getting rid of stuff is getting rid of how we treat people. Now, they'll call it changing, right? It's progressive, how we're changing things. Because change, of course, in the modern idea, in this progressive idea, change is always good. There's never anything wrong with it. But the problem is, what are we changing when we treat people? How we get into treating people? A lot of people are saying, oh, we're treating people better. No, we're not. We're treating people horribly. A lot of times in the guise of treating them better. All right, so for instance, you have these just horrible things going on now. All kinds of stories breaking out here and there of the whole transgender thing, right? Just as an example, we have this idea, this concept that we must allow them to feel whatever it is that we feel. We can't make fun of them for it. We can't tell them they're wrong. We just need to make them feel good about themselves. So just let them do whatever. We have to do this. No, that's bad. That is actually bad for you, because first off, you're thinking something that's completely wrong. It's unjust. But then some of them get crazy enough that they actually go into surgery to fix it. They try to fix something that was never broken in the first place. Instead of fixing what is actually broken, which is a mental problem, they fix what is not broken, which is like physical stuff. So, adding on body parts or removing body parts to fit whatever silly idea you have in your head. And it's awful. It's terrible. It is not doing your body any good. It ain't helping your mental state out any. It's just terrible. But it makes you feel better about yourself. Or it makes the guy who let them do this terrible, horrible thing feel better about himself, because they let somebody do these horrible, horrible things to themselves. Because the person who had actually doing it, going through the transition, as they like to call it, isn't quite there. They might act like they're better, but there's a lot of times that stories come back, no, they still go through the same problems. One of the big ones that I've seen before is they're confused, concerned, upset that their body is still doing the things of their old, aka only, gender, and not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Okay, I went and added these parts, removed these parts, took these drugs, got rid of these hormones, and yet, I have to keep maintaining, doing all this stuff to try to really a facsimile. When I look at these individuals, all I see is somebody who is undercover as somebody else. They are in disguise. Sometimes they're in disguise from themselves as much as the rest of the world. They're trying to hide themselves from themselves. It's terrible. It's just terrible. It's horrible. Highly unfortunate that we have people in this modern era of let's be kind to people, insisting that to be kind to people we have to do these terrible things to them. But that's the way we treat people. We have this concept of progressivism is retribution. Right now, I have nothing against retribution. I'm all for it. Bad guys must be punished. However, I do not punish the great grandkids of bad guys. That's stupid. They didn't commit the crime. Why punish them? It's not their fault. And some people talk about, sins of the father, but that ain't sins of the father. That's the sins of the great grandfather. That's ridiculous. So when it comes to the retribution of the modern world, of course, you have the whole BLM nonsense and the Antifa stuff. Well, your great granddad or somebody that looks somewhat like you in this fact that they were, had 2 arms, 2 legs, and were white, enslaved my daddy. Or, somebody that looked like my daddy in the fact that he had 2 arms, 2 legs, and was black. Okay, you have stuff like this out there. You have this projection of one funny, again, coming full circle, you had white people thinking they were superior to black people, and now you've got black people thinking they're superior to white people. Because originally it was white people are superior to black people because there was more of us than them, I guess. I don't know. We had the better technology, we had superior skills, whatever. And now it's coming around where the black people think they're better than the white people because the black people weren't the ones enslaving people. Yeah, that makes a whole heck of a lot of sense at all. What? That's not how this works, right? There is no better. You did bad things, we did bad things. We're past that. Let's just continue on with life. But no, we gotta go back to this retribution, right? They had all the retribution payments. Oh, we need to pay all the black people X number of dollars if they were, prove they were sons and daughters of a slave. Why? We're past that. In fact, all of those people already got paid. You not know this? Yeah, all of those people got paid. All the people that were slaves, that's where the term $40 a mule come from. Because they were like, okay, you guys were slaves, we need to set you up, here's some money, here's some stuff, whatever, to get you on your feet. Some people squandered it, some people got rich off of it and became massive landowners themselves eventually, right? Maybe not necessarily right away, but eventually. These things already happened, but we aren't treating people like people. We're treating them as a cause for whatever side. And normally, of course, it's more the leftist side than our side because we treat people like people. But one of the things that's becoming more and more disturbing to me in this aspect is it does deal a little bit with the whole transgender thing and the gay thing and the rest of the rainbow crowd. But one of the things when it comes to treating people this way is not treating... How do I put this correctly? You treat everybody as individuals, but also as a group. And you're supposed to treat everybody like individuals. Each person has their own story, their own background, their own life history, all that stuff. That's right. It's correct. But when we put them into their groups, we're constantly changing what those groups look like. Originally, when we clumped people into groups, it was, Americans. Okay, what are Americans? They're gun-toting, crazy people that constantly have to do something different and eventually make the world a better place by accident. Right? You have some of the weird technology that we've come up with purely because you're like, hold my beer, things like that. You just have that's a crazy idea. Let's do it. Right? You've got the British, the supreme pompous, really, but the pristine people, right? They were the height of society, the fancy peoples, right? It's what a lot of people thought of the British. Of course, you got the French. They're the cowards. They're the nation of love, whatever. But you had things like nationalities, of course. Then you have some sub aspects of that. You've got, of course, the rednecks who are again the gun toting, beer swilling, whatever. Makes the land work. You got the blue collar workers that go to work 8 hours, come back home, and sit in front of the TV all day. You got the nerds, you got the geeks, you got the jocks, you got the whatever. Those were we had these. We knew each other existed, but we didn't hate each other for it. That's the big piece. We didn't hate each other. We didn't try changing it. It was just who you were. We were okay with that. All right? One of the things that a lot of people kind of go into is don't put your religion on me. Right? And what's kind of interesting about that is by saying that, by trying to enforce the standard, don't put your religion or your beliefs, we'll go with beliefs, don't put your beliefs on me, is now you're forcing me to take your belief that I shouldn't put my beliefs on other people. Now, some of you might be going, well, the land of freedom, right? I should be free from religion. No, it doesn't say that in the Constitution. It says freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. It's not in there. In a lot of religions, their goal, of course, is to evangelize, bring people to their faith. Well, because we have this pressing need to push people away, we can't do that anymore. Right? So it used to be that, okay, the jocks hated the nerds because the jocks were your warrior-esque tough guys, and the jocks were a bunch of wimps. Or, the nerds were a bunch of wimps. But they knew, nobody's looking. Quick, ask the nerd for all the answers to the test. That was their place. The jocks were the sports guys, and the nerds were the smart people, and they worked together. Right? There's always going to be a little animosity. There always is, but they didn't hate each other. I mean, they might have hated each other in high school, but let's face facts. Everybody hated each other in high school. There was this constant struggle for dominance there because you're kids. You don't know any better. You don't realize that for the next 40 years, you're just going to be too tired to do all that. But anyhow, you have that. Of course, you have the classic, finding yourself thing, which I think is dumb. I'm right here. How am I supposed to find myself? I'm literally right here. I can't go anyplace else. If I go to that other location, then I'm right there because that's where I am. I get the whole, self-image, blah, 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 but it's stupid to me. Yes, you may learn more about why you do things, but you know that you do them. Okay, so what? Right? That's a big thing. So what? There are some things that need to be shut down, right? Like I said, if you feel like you're a girl when you're actually a guy, if you feel like you're a guy when you're actually a girl, that kind of thing, it's abnormal and needs shut down. Die. The idea, not the person. YouTube, don't kick me. But we have our ideas now that we need to let bad ideas take hold, take root, because those weren't ideas that we've already encouraged. We didn't encourage those ideas. We actually shot those ideas down. So because of that, because we pushed that aside in the old days, we should allow it now. Why? Did anybody take the time to find out why they pushed it away originally? Because guess what? This whole idea of being gay or being transgender or whatever is not new. It's actually been done lots of times. Not necessarily to the same degree we have. I mean, obviously, people didn't have near the technology for crafting a dude to look like a girl or crafting a girl to look like a dude. But, there've been cross-dressers plenty of times. You had plenty of people pretending to be a girl when they were really a dude. There's even songs about it. Whatever, right? This is not a new concept. People have been trying to do this. But the reason it was shut down to every point before this is because they knew something was not right with those people thinking this way, acting this way. Things don't mix. We've talked about this in previous videos. We talked about this in blog posts. When it comes to this need for change, we should be changing because it's a good thing to change. Not because change is good, but because whatever it is we're changing to is good. Right, so for the modern world, well, besides getting rid of all the bad changes, right? what should be the next change that we should be making that is good? All right, so obviously a lot of things need reversed. We need to reverse this idea that everybody needs to be changing their hair all the time. I said that before. I'm big on the hair thing. You were born with this color hair. Leave it alone. Just leave it alone for a couple of centuries. Okay, a couple of decades. Fine. Whatever. Actually, more than a couple of decades, because things change, as far as history is concerned, they change pretty quickly over decades. So let's do a century. Just even there. Don't change your hair. Just don't. Leave it as is. Right? As far as hair color. We're not even getting into the weird braids thing, into the ponytails and the hair clear down to your ankles and all that mess. And that I got issues with that too. But don't change it because you can. That's another big thing too. In fact, I was actually I love to be able to record this, put it on our YouTube channel, but I can't because it's got cursing in it until I figure out how to get rid of the cursing easy. It's gonna be a pain. But there's a video game series that kind of tackles this kind of side note. I think it does a great job of doing it if you're paying attention to the story. But the game series is BioShock. For those of you who've never heard of it, never played it, it's basically about the original one. It's basically about this guy who goes to the bottom of the ocean, and there's this city underneath there, and he doesn't know why, but he's there, and he's got to try to save the city, right? There's the bad guy running the city, and he's got to stop the bad guy from destroying everything. I don't know. I actually beat the first game. I was very excited. I was like, yes, finally I beat it. And it was actually a very happy ending. I'm not going to spoil it. But anyhow, one of the things that kind of go in there, one of the very first things you hear from the guy who built this city, he is the epitome of progressivism. I mean, just here's progressivism advanced all the way to its natural end state. And one of the things that he was saying right away, right? Well, first off, he was saying, he asked the question, where does your money belong? And then went after the three big archetypes of the time period, because it's supposed to be, I think it's like supposed to be set in the 1960s or something like that. So he went after the three big archetypes at the time, which was capitalism, the church, and communism. And he said, capitalism says the money belongs to the government. The church says the money belongs to the poor. And communism says that the money belongs to everybody else but you. And he's like, no. You made that money. You should keep it. Now, obviously, he was actually talking about capitalism itself, but he was talking about the federal government, how it was, taxing. But anyhow, he had this idea, which again is like the epitome of all, if we came out and said exactly what progressivism was doing, this is what he'd be saying. And most people probably wouldn't balk at it at the beginning. They're like, yeah, that's right. But one of the things he had on there was basically pull all restrictions away. All of it. And the libertarians, or the libertarians as I like to call them, would be very for this. Yes, freedom for all. We pull all the restrictions away. So art, no more restrictions on that. Science, no more restrictions on that. However you want to make money, no restrictions. We unrestrict everything. That was his grand plan. And of course, he does some things that we're not going to get into as far as, money is concerned, because apparently he started buying up, I'm buying this to protect us, whatever. But one of the things in there was the science piece. And no, I'm not going to relate this to COVID. Don't worry, ain't going there. But anyhow, like kind of a main arc of the story, main piece, if this thing didn't happen, the rest of the game wouldn't work. One of the things in there is that they discover this worm or something at the bottom of the ocean. I'm trying to remember exactly how it was described. But anyhow, basically had something that was called Eve. Or that they called Eve. They decided to call it Eve. They were trying to do this whole Adam and Eve thing. But basically, it gave you superpowers. And anybody could get it. You just have this weird stuff in a jar, you inject yourself with it, and now you can shoot fireball out of your fingertips. Yeah. Of course, you as the main character, you're constantly finding these new upgrades, shooting yourself up with it, and now I can shoot ice balls, or fireballs, or lightning, or, freaking telekinesis stuff. Yeah, superpowers, woohoo, video game. But if you pay attention to the story, one of the things they make note is because all this science was basically let loose, and there's just no restrictions to it whatsoever. Everybody went crazy, went nuts, because they were trying all this stuff they should never have tried, that anybody with half a conscience would have said, whoa, 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 what are you doing? So, for instance, you have one of the things you have to, obviously, you have to get some of that Eve in order to purchase upgrades. And now, Eve is not just sitting in people, right? It's not money. It's a chemical. And this Eve is, I don't think they really described how it originally got into people, but how you get it is by collecting Eve from what is called little sisters. And these little sisters are like 6-year-old girls who go around all these dead bodies and put a giant needle into them to like just extract blood from them, and then they drink it, which I know is disgusting. Trust me. Ooh. They drink this stuff, and then their body, because of some weird chemical mixture that these guys injected into these poor little kids, these little girls, 6-year-old girls, and that you constantly, because you pick up these little like audio file type deals that you can listen to while you're playing, and they talk about some of the people are just appalled once they start seeing these little sisters and what they're doing. Like, what the heck? Why would you do that? It's a little girl. Why would you do such a terrible thing to a little girl? But anyhow, the reason they're drinking this blood, essentially, is because they can extract the Eve back out of some dead guy. So they can recycle it, use it again, put it in other people. I don't know how they get the... They don't really go into details about how you extract... I mean, you do extract Eve from the little girls, but there's two ways of doing it. You can either... basically they have option A and option B. One option is harvest, which is where you suck all the Eve out of them, which kills them because it's too much. Or you can go the save option, which of course I, as the superhero, went with every time. Where you extract just enough of the Eve so you can kind of power up, but it leaves just enough in there so they don't die. But part of you doing it this way is that you actually extract what they refer to as basically kind of like an Eve madness. So basically they're crazy because they've got this stuff in them and whatever super ability that you manage to get that nobody else has, by the way. You're the only person that can do this. Because you can do that, pull that stuff out of them, they no longer really want to be running around doing this. They just want to act like little girls now. One of the other things, too, with the little sisters is they're invulnerable. Can't get hurt. You can knock them around all you want, but they still have these protectors, which are called Big Daddies. And the Big Daddies, really hard to kill, even for the player, very hard to kill. And they have this, which I think is kind of cool, too. They basically built in an instinct, which is kind of in guys anyhow. It was a very interesting dynamic. I could go talk for hours about this. But anyhow, had this whole, kind of father-daughter thing going on, relationship. But anyhow, the reason I bring this up is because, like I said, with the restrictions being removed from the science, you had people deciding to make invulnerable 6-year-olds to drink blood to extract something that gives other people magical powers. The fact that you're giving people magical powers means that they now feel like they are gods, and they start killing other people because they can't. They have the ability to, so why not? One of the other things, too, that like very, very small amounts of Eve allowed people to fix themselves. And however they, I'm going to become more beautiful, they'll use just a little bit of Eve. Because of this kind of like a mixture between science and art, you have one of these doctors very early in the game, actually, that if you listen to one of his audio files, he's actually talking this very fact about who says that we have to be restricted to this. And when I say this, I'm not like talking about to this idea of a human. I mean, like, literally, this. He's talking, who says that a human can only have 2 eyes, or 2 ears, or 2 arms, 2 legs? Why is that written? Why can't we have more than that? Why must it not be less? Are you insane? Answer, yes, he is insane. But that's the thing that happens when you pull all restrictions away, or morality, throw that in there. You pull all immorality away, that's what you're left with. And that's what I thought was great about the games. If you play them for that kind of story, if you're paying attention to that, it's a really good thinking kind of game, as far, not so much in strategy. I mean, there is strategy in there, obviously, but if you sit there and actually think about, holy Hannah, this is terrible. If we let things like this happen, if we pull all the restrictions away, if we start treating people this way, where we just, everybody can do what they want, you can redesign yourself however you want, everybody will eventually go crazy. And then they'll start murdering everybody, and that's just okay, right? And then guess what? This area that you're in, pretty much everybody's dead already. The only people alive left alive are basically the craziest of them, and those that have the technology to keep those crazies away from them. But that's the thing, is you're having to deal with this madness, and of course you're in there and you're like, there's no innocence here, except for the little girls. They're innocent. But everybody else, not innocent. Murder them all. Sorry. It's just one of those things. It's terrible that we get to this point where basically anybody who would have been innocent is killed because there was no one strong to protect them, and that's why I like the whole Little Sisters thing, which comes to BioShock 2. But again, I could do a whole video on just BioShock. I love the idea and the concept behind the whole series. But anyhow, like I said, this constant need for change, the constant idea that we have to change is not always a good thing, because this is what it could lead to. And I realize some of you guys are going, it's just a video game. But we're seeing this now. We're seeing and this game was not made last year. I mean, these games were made several years ago, like early 2000s. And the first one was, I can't remember when. I think BioShock 3 came out in 2012. Maybe it was earlier than that. I can't remember. But anyhow, they had this idea even back then. This is what happens when you pull all the restrictions away. And we're seeing this, like I said, right now. Again, not going into the COVID stuff, into the weird shot thing, but that does apply. Don't get me wrong. It does apply. We're talking the transgender thing. We're talking about the gay thing, the lesbian thing, the whatever the heck else with the rest of the crowd. Because we are so focused on the me, on the stay away from me, push out everybody else, that you're not paying attention to the fact that you're still in groups. The groups that we have now, which I was kind of alluding to earlier and I got sidetracked, the groups that we are in now, instead of being Americans and rednecks and British and blue collar and whatever else, instead of being those groups where we just know each other exists and get along with each other fairly well, now we have to be victims of somebody else. We have to be those who are downtrodden, the ones that are being crushed, or we're the oppressor, right? Somebody else has to be oppressor. I can't be blamed for my own stupidity. It has to be somebody else's fault. And that's kind of what we got going on now with, BLM riots, Antifa, and all that mess. It's unfortunate. But I would not be a superhero if I just let it all burn. Even though a lot of times I do think, maybe I should. Maybe it'd be funnier that way. But no, we shouldn't do that, right? So what's the right thing to do? Like you said, I mean, I just threw the hair thing in there myself, but ask yourself when you're going for whatever change, why? If you're changing your clothes, it's probably because your clothes are dirty. They need to be cleaned. Sanitation. Got it. Right? Take the old shirt off, put the new shirt on. Do that every day. Hygiene. Cool. Why are you changing your hair color? Why are you changing the length? Why are you changing the style that you put it in? All right? Not saying you can't do these things. I'm not saying they're wrong to do these things. But you should still ask yourself why. If it's because I want to feel good about myself, guess what? It's never going to change. You will never feel good about yourself. You might for a few minutes, a little while. Yes, I now feel good about being a blonde, about having hair down to my backside. Be polite here, children's show. Well, not children's show, but family show. I feel good, and it's not even real hair; it's fake hair. Why? Why fake hair? Why not grow your real hair out that long? Why has it got to be a wig? Oh, because my hair doesn't naturally grow that way? I wonder why, because it looks dumb. Sorry. When it comes to why are we doing these things, just ask yourself. It doesn't have to be, a long, hour and a half long humbug, nothing like that, you don't have to do none of that. Just, why am I doing this again? Why am I going out and getting a tattoo? Because it looks cool. you know what? I like things that look cool. But maybe we could put that really cool design on like a t-shirt or a bumper sticker or a painting on the wall, right? Why does it have to get injected in my arm with a needle and some ink that we don't know all the ingredients to? I'm just saying, ask yourself these questions. Why? If it's to make yourself feel good, there's a word for that, and it's called selfish. How dare you say what I'm doing is selfish? Again, to be nice to people, sometimes you have to tell them the truth brutally honestly. You can't just let people feel good about themselves when it's bad for them. Again, like I said, we'll get into the whole fashion thing later, but it's one of those things that's constantly happening. Is people are constantly saying we need to get with the times. We need to go into the future. No. We need to put the brakes on it so that we don't basically fly. We're going down the highway 90 miles an hour, and we don't want to wind up, rear-ending a semi, flying off a bridge that ain't finished being built. Whatever. We don't want to rush these things. We want to do it right. We want to do it for the right reasons. All right. So, for instance, crop tops or whatever. I don't do all the shirts things, but the shirts that go up to the belly button. Why? Why are you showing off your midriff like that? Is it because you want to feel good about yourself? Do you want people to be attracted to you? Now, that's a big one, right? Attraction. I want them to be... I just want to attract a boyfriend. Are you attracting a boyfriend because they think you're a good person? Or for some more animalistic desires? Yeah, I'm not going to say it, but those of you old enough, you know what I'm thinking. And for those of you not old enough, I'm going to let your parents decide how to explain that to you. But these are the questions to ask, like the shorts. Why are you wearing shorts? Now, some might have some very good answers. I mean, for instance, let's go with the little belly shirt thing. Heat reduction. It's hot. Cool. Makes sense. Can we do something that doesn't, can we get some balance here? Because I've seen that before with the training underwear. I can't say that word. I vomit in this helmet. And this does not have proper cleaning technology inside. Even in my own actual helmet, I've refused to vomit in there because there's no way you get that thing out. But that was the thing, like, oh, I'm exercising, so I'm wearing basically very short shorts and just what I need to cover myself up so as to not be naked. And then that's it. It's to help keep cool. Got it. I get it. It's understandable what you're trying to accomplish here, but we need to put some restrictions on it, right? You might think you're restricting enough, not just running around buck naked, but no, we need to, because some people find, I don't know how, don't ask me how, I have no idea, I don't do this thing, but some people find like sweaty women attractive. Don't ask me why, I have no freaking clue, but I've heard that. Oh yeah, that chick, oh she looks hot. Of course I'm going, well duh, she just ran, freaking 2 miles in 90-degree weather, of course she's hot, she needs a freaking shower. But that's not what they're going for. But it is these things, right? There have to be restrictions. Not in the liberal version of restrictions where you just restrict everything, but we shouldn't just unrestrict everything like libertarians. We have to have balance. To kind of finish this off, leave a little example that I found one time. Very interesting example. I think it's a good example to kind of explain all this. It's not real. Don't get worried. Basically, they talked about playing soccer on a field, right? Grass field. But this field is on a cliff. Now, if you have kids out there playing on the side of a cliff, what is your immediate reaction? Well, the first reaction for most good parents is don't let them play on a freaking cliff because you don't want them going over the side. Well, if that's the only place you play, what do we do? I know. Let's put up a little boundary around that cliff so they can't fall over. You see this all the time in, parks, national park type stuff, where you put up these barriers not to stop you from enjoying the view, but to stop you from falling over and getting yourself killed by dropping 300 feet to whatever, over a bunch of rocks and stuff. We're trying to protect you here. It's a good restriction. If you remove that restriction, then those kids have the possibility, of kicking the ball, a little soccer ball, too close to the edge of the cliff, or even worse, over the cliff. That's the soccer ball. Got to go get a new one now. But you do this, and the little kids are going to get too close, and they might fall over the cliff trying to get the soccer ball back. Some of them, especially if they see enough kids go flying off the edge of a cliff, are not going to want to use the entire cliff anymore. They're going to be like halfway back. So now you've restricted your area to play in. That doesn't sound so good either. A balance must be had. Some restriction is good. Not all restriction, but not all unrestricted. I won't say all freedom, because all freedom is good, but there's the whole definition of what is real freedom. But I leave that for you to think about, mull over. And because this is on YouTube, as long as YouTube doesn't ban me again, I'm still very upset about that, YouTube. I'll let you know this. But anyhow, because you have it on YouTube, again, normally I wouldn't say these things, but I'm going to start doing it now. If you like the video, put in a like. If you dislike the video, definitely put in the thumbs down. And I will, if they're talking about removing the counter, so if I get enough thumbs down in there, I'll make my own dang comment to show how many people have thumbed it down. Because apparently, creators can get the thumbs down or something. I think that's silly. That the creators can see it, but the people who put in the thumbs down can't, or whatever stupid stuff. I will do that myself. You don't have to comment that yourself. I will do that. I don't care. It doesn't hurt my little feelings because I don't care if you dislike my video. I will care enough if, 5,000 people hate my video, because then I'm like, I did something wrong. What did I do? I should probably fix that. But 5,000 people didn't like it, and 2 people liked it. But go ahead, put in your likes, put in your dislikes. The only reason I ask for the likes is not because I want you to like my video, because I want you to love my video, and I need the self-assurance that you like what I say. It's nice to have, sure, but I don't care. The reason I want you to like it is because if you like it and if enough people like it, then YouTube is forced to actually put it where other people can see the darn thing. Yeah, we're going to start playing YouTube's games against them. Evil laugh for the good guys, right? And then, of course, comments, right? I'm good with comments. If you want to comment something, comment. If you liked it, say why. If you didn't like it, say why. That's what the comments are for. I've seen some very funny comments. Not on my videos. But also, I'm okay with people giving me comments, but they gotta be real comments. Not that stupid bot stuff. I hate that stuff. Keep that off there, right? I ain't becoming your friend on YouTube. I don't even know how to do that. Even if I did know how to do it, I still wouldn't do it. So I ain't becoming your friend on YouTube. I ain't being your boyfriend. And whatever other stupid stuff you're going to start off with, that shenanigans ain't happening. Just, no, we ain't doing that. If you liked the video, say why you liked it. I've had a few comments in the past say, really loved your video, it was great. Okay, why? Because it was funny, because it was entertaining, because I got you thinking. Why? Tell me why. No one's ever said they hated my stuff. I've got a few thumbs down, but never said why. Whatever. But, say these things. And we will constantly strive to make this a better show as time progresses forward. Thank you. This is Romeware, signing off.